Look guys, I get it. You guys love carbs, I love carbs. Today in this video, we're going to talk about the 3 different types of carbohydrates and which carbohydrates are best for you to achieve your goals. Hey guys, Tom Petkovich with Tap Into Fitness Nutrition, here to get together with you today to basically just cover the different carb tolerances with different types of body types and also the 3 different types of carbohydrates that there are. The first thing that I want to talk about is what your goals are and how those align with the certain type of carbohydrates. I would say most people in America, their goal is to lose weight, and typically those people are going to fit into the endomorph category, which is more going to be a pear-shaped individual. They tend to put more of their weight in their midsection, their lower upper back. They might even put it up in their chest a little bit. But typically people that want to lose weight in general are going to be more in that endomorph category. All right, so that endomorph category tends to be very low carbohydrate tolerant, meaning that those people, when they take in carbohydrates, turn them into fat very easily. Okay, so with that, in layman's terms, essentially, hey, we want to try to keep those people away from carbohydrates unless they've typically done a workout session. Really, the only time that I recommend carbohydrates for people who are trying to lose weight is to have them eat those starchy carbohydrates post-workout. All right, so I'm going to stop here and talk about the 3 different types of carbohydrates. The first type of carbohydrate is going to be our simple, sugary, and processed carbohydrate. That's typically what most Americans are eating today, and that category is going to be things like cereals, pancakes, waffles, breads, pastas are going to fit in there a lot of times just because they're super processed. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that a lot of those categories can't be eaten in those other categories. They definitely can, but it's typically if you've made them yourself, they're highly unprocessed. We'll touch base on that a little bit further later. But in the sugary category, I want to make sure that we're not taking in things like Gatorade, fruit juices. A lot of people tend to think, oh, this is healthy, I'm getting more fruit in. Yes, you are getting more fruit in, but the thing that makes fruit good for your body is, and the thing that buffers the insulin surge and kind of what stores things as fat, is actually the fiber that is in that fruit. Okay, so if you are going to eat fruit, that's okay, but we don't want to drink fruit without the pulp. So I'm okay with people blending fruit into their protein shakes and certain things that they're doing, but I'm not okay with people juicing their fruits. And the difference is that you take the pulp or the fiber out of those two. Okay, so I want to make that one big distinction there. But other things like ice cream, muffins, bagels, like those things just don't fit in the category for weight loss. Okay, and I think we all know that, and I think that we get past that sometimes, so I want to make sure that we make that distinction right away. The next thing I want to talk about is going into your minimally processed starchy carbohydrates, the things that are okay, but the things that people who are into that endomorph category that are trying to lose weight want to do only post-workout. They're not trying to have it in every single meal throughout the day. With that category, we're really looking for things like potatoes, sweet potatoes, quinoa, amaranth, and if we are making certain things like breads, pastas ourselves, those are great if you're making those things yourself, but typically a lot of people just don't have the time to do that. Other things are going to be like oats, rice, other just different pseudo grains that fit in there. A lot of those are okay, and a lot of those come from plant sources. So think if it really comes from the earth, a lot of times it's okay for me to eat that. But those are in our starchy carbohydrate category, so we want to make sure that we limit those. Typically males might get 2 handfuls and females might get 1 handful with those. Now let's go into the last category of our basically our vegetables and our fruits. Those are our last category as far as our carbohydrates. I know that a lot of times we don't think of those as carbohydrates, but they are, okay? So with those are the ones that really we're trying to fit in every meal, and we're trying to get them in as frequent as possible. But I do give the caveat that if we are still trying to lose weight for that endomorph category, and the people that tend to put the weight in their midsection primarily, that we're trying to probably keep you to about 2 servings of fruit per day, and we're actually trying to hit about 10 servings of vegetables each day. Those serving sizes are basically a fist, okay? So we're trying to get basically 10 fist sizes per day, or basically a 5-to-1 ratio for those endomorph category. All right, so next I'm going to go into the mesomorph category. The mesomorph category typically tends to be kind of that, I would say, triangle-shaped individual, the person that looks a little bit stronger, a little bit leaner. Those people would fit into the moderate tolerance carbohydrate category, and those people typically have the goal within their strength training program or their workout program to be more bodybuilding, relative strength. And let me actually go back to the endomorph because I didn't touch base on that, but the endomorph category, they're typically really good at absolute strength. Okay, so I want you guys to maybe think of like World's Strongest Man, like these guys are massive and huge, they're really big people, and they're typically in that endomorph category. Okay, they're really big guys, a lot of them have massive guts, they're absolute strength athletes, and that's why they typically fit into that endomorph category. The mesomorph category, like I said, is going to be more bodybuilding category. People maybe possibly even in CrossFit a little bit. People that, like I said, tend to have that triangle structure, have a smaller waist and broader shoulders. And I would say that most people want to fit into this category. And I'm going to stop there for a second and say that you can actually morph and change which category you fit into. I actually tended to be in the absolute strength category when I was younger, and now as I've delved more into CrossFit and more into endurance movements and endurance activities, I actually incorporate more carbohydrates throughout my entire day, and I still don't gain weight. It actually helps me to de-stress my body to have more carbohydrates because I do so much work. Okay, so keep that in mind too, that as you change what you do as far as activity, as you morph your life and your body type and all of those things, that your carbohydrate tolerance will change with all of these too. So the mesomorph category actually is going to be more of a moderate carbohydrate tolerance, and there is probably that in-between athlete, because the other category is the ectomorph category, and that category is more the endurance athlete, a person who's really thin, slender, and also really basically handle any carbohydrates at any time throughout the entire day. All right, so that person specifically should have carbohydrates pretty much every meal, and I'm talking about those minimally processed starchy carbohydrates. We already said that overall we should have fruits and veggies for every category at every single meal. Okay, so running through those 3 categories again, the ectomorph should have starchy carbohydrates at every single meal and have them throughout the entire day. The mesomorph category should use them somewhat sparingly, but is going to have them more throughout the day. And the ectomorph category is going to have them only post-workout. So I always tell my clients that are in that endomorph category, we want to make sure that you're only fitting in carbohydrates post-workout, or essentially you have to earn your minimally processed starchy carbs post-workout. Okay, so with that, we're really trying to only incorporate those sugary carbohydrates overall, only like really post-workout for everybody, if at all. And endomorphs, really, we're trying to cut them out, period. But the mesomorph and the ectomorph category actually can have a little bit more sugary carbohydrates, and sometimes during their workouts that actually helps to improve performance. But the endomorph category, typically if we incorporate too many sugary carbohydrates into their diet, their body goes into that insulin surge, and they tend to basically gain weight and start to add too much fat mass overall, and really lose the main goal that most of my clients have of losing fat mass. All right, guys, one last thing that I wanted to add. I do highly recommend branched chain amino acids for pretty much any category to help to minimize the stress or the load of exercise. A lot of my clients see exercise as something that is a de-stressor, and it's not that. We are tearing you down, we are breaking down your body, we're ripping apart muscle fibers. Yes, it is. The goal is to build you up after, but recovery doesn't start until post-workout. Okay, so those branched chain amino acids are basically proteins that are pre-broken down for you to basically digest and start rebuilding those tears in those muscles during the workout. So I really recommend those for my ectomorphs, but my mesomorphs and also my endomorphs, those are something with endomorph category, they're typically in high stress, and that's already going to put them in more stress. That's something that's going to help them overall. So the ectomorph and the mesomorph category, I might also recommend having them put like creatine or other beta-alanine or other things in there with it, along with some other like sugary thing in there to help absorb those things. But the endomorph category, really we're just trying to get in something to minimize the stress post-workout. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in today. Hope you guys got a lot out of this video. We do love having your guys' participation, so if you guys in the comments below could give me what your favorite like pre-workout, mid-workout, or workout drink is in the comments below, and let me know what you guys do as far as carbohydrates throughout the day. That'd be great. I'd love to hear from you guys. Have a great rest of your day, and thanks for tuning in.